Welcome to Unit 5 Block Dynamics. In this unit, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about how blocks can connect with each other, as well as creating some variables and lists. And our main learning objectives from this unit will be learning how to drag and drop all the Scratch blocks and connect them. There's a lot of different configurations. Actually, there's almost an endless amount of configurations. Just understand the different block types and how they can, combine with each other. You'll be pretty surprised with some of the options we have out there. Again, creating the list and variables, and then very important, creating broadcast messages. This is the key to creating some very complex programs. Let's go ahead and move into section 5.1, drag and drop programming. Drag and drop programming essentially is when you can use your mouse to physically move objects in place and then have those objects connect to each other and perform some sort of function that will make the computer do something that you want to happen. For example, you can make it have the computer make a sound or have some sort of input from the user, or you can actually make a video game or an animation. So drag and drop programming just means you're going to drag and drop all the blocks onto the screen in order to program. This is actually becoming a very prominent way to program. You notice this quite a bit in a lot more advanced software programs. My prediction, you'll see this quite a bit in the future, especially if you pursue programming. A lot of programming still does involve what we call syntax programming, where not syntax, but essentially you're typing out the instructions to the computer, which it's a little bit more cumbersome, but you'll also find it's very powerful to do that. Nonetheless, with Scratch, we're going to use drag and drop programming. It's pretty easy. You just find the block you want and just drag it to the script area, and then just go from there. Let's go ahead and pull up Scratch, and you've probably already experimented with this. If you haven't, that's okay. You've probably seen me use it so far. So you drag your little block over, then let's get the move block. We put that right there. Notice how they connect to each other. Then when we click on the green flag button here, you'll notice that the cat barely moves, and it did exactly what we told it to do. We said when the green flag's clicked on, we'll move 10 steps. Now we could be a little bit more dramatic and then click on the green flag over and over again until the cat moves off the screen. And you notice how to drag it back. This is a little tip that most people tend to forget about. You can use the tab key on your keyboard. Instead of having to double click in the data entry area, it'll automatically move over there for you. And put in the coordinates right above the action item that you want. And if you want to reset the program to the same XY coordinate every time. So right here, we'll click on the green flag and the cat moves over. And you'll notice I click on the green flag, the cat does not go back. Technically it is going back. The problem is it's moving back so fast you can't see the action. So let's delay this a little bit by 1 second. Click on the green flag. Boom. There it is. So that shows that when the green flag's clicked, it goes back to 0, 0, waits 1 second before it moves 100 steps. Okay? That just gives you a little idea on how these blocks can be combined to program. We're going to get in a little bit more depth here. There are 4 main block categories for connecting the different blocks. You have a hat block, stack block, C block, and a cap block. As you remembered from our previous lessons, these are just your different block types. Let's pull Scratch up. I still have my Scratch lesson here that I was doing a second ago. So we have the hat block here at the top, which is the green flag click block. And right below it is a stack block. Actually 3 stack blocks below it. Alright. Now that just happens to be the way this got programmed. It doesn't have to always be like that. It can be in any type of order that you want. I could also take a C block and put it right there, and then get another stack block and put it inside like so. And then let's put a cap block down here that says stop all. So we'll click on the green flag. The cat will move 100 steps. And then this will repeat 10 times where it moves 10 steps, which is what caused that animation of the cat moving across the screen there. And then down below, we told it to stop everything in this program. So that's a combination of all 4 different types of connecting blocks. Next, this is a concept that I kind of came up with the term. It's in between connecting. What I want you to see is that you can take a block and then place it in between other ones. I probably have already done it in one of the videos. However, if you didn't see it, let's go ahead and make it happen. What you need to make sure is that the white line appears for the block whenever you want to. Have it snap in between two different blocks. And let's get a pen tool now. And let's set the pen down. And we're going to put it right in between move and wait. And you can see that white line appearing in between the wait and move right there. That means this block will get placed in between those two blocks. And I drop it like so. And now, whenever I run my program, the pen down will appear and it'll come across the screen drawing a line. And if I click the button to run it again, you'll notice the line doesn't disappear. What we have to do is clear it. And so I'm going to use an in-between connecting again. I'm going to put the clear block right at the very top. Click on the green flag. And it did not clear. Oh, I know why. Okay, so when you program, you have to tell the computer every little thing you want done. So what I'm going to do is, not pen down, I want pen up. And I'm going to go ahead and tell the pen to go up. And then I'm going to tell it to clear here at the end. So when I run my program, it'll clear out. Then when I click on the green flag, it'll come back and redraw the line. So what I had to do was I had to make sure the pen was up and clear it out to get rid of the previous drawing. When it wasn't there, let me show you what's going on, because this might happen to you as well. When it was drawing the line across the screen, and I told it to clear right here, the problem is the pen is still down and the cat is at these coordinates. So when the cat goes back to 0, 0, since the pen is still down, it's drawing from its current coordinate, which is 200, 0, back to 0, 0. Which is why the line still appears to be there. So when the cat comes back to this point, the line is still being drawn. It just happened so fast we couldn't see it because it went from 200, 0 back to 0, 0. And then the pen goes back down, and then we draw again, and there you have it. So that is in between connecting. Next, we have C block connecting. And C block connecting means we'll just take some blocks of code. It can be other C blocks, it could be stack blocks, it could be cat blocks. It cannot be hat blocks. Sounds like a rhyme. And you can just stick those inside your C block. Let's go ahead and pull up Scratch again. And let's go ahead and clear all this out. And let's put up another little program with our green flag. You know, let's try something different. Let's use the space key pressed. And then what I want to do is I'm going to get a forever block. And I'm going to get the move 10 steps, and then I'm going to, let's see, let's get it on the edge and bounce, and press the space bar, and you'll notice the cat is moving all around across the scene. And something interesting is happening with this as well, is that we programmed the pen to be down and still drawing, and even though the code's not there, it's still doing it, which I never have had that happen to me before, which I'm not surprised. So that's one of the nuances of Scratch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on clear, and then I'm going to put pen up right here. So when I press the space bar, now the pen is gone, it's not being drawn anymore. And what you saw me do right here, it's kind of a little trick of Scratch. If I bring a block into the script area, I can just double click on the block to allow the code to actually take effect. I don't have to have it as part of the program in order for it to do something. For example, if I brought in pen down and double clicked on that, you'll notice that the pen is being drawn again. And if I clicked on clear, it disappears, but since the pen's still down, it's still drawing. I'm going to click on pen up, double click on clear, and now it goes away. So that shows you that you don't have to have the blocks of code and actually part of the function in order to test and experiment with these. And let's look at another piece of code. I'm just going to put these three together since they're already here. We can force the C block around other code. So I'm going to grab the repeat, and this doesn't do anything. This is just me demonstrating that I can take this C block and force it around these just by clicking and dragging. You'll notice it kind of opens up its mouth, or I guess you could say it's eating the other code, but it really doesn't. And what happens is it automatically wraps itself around this code, and now it's connected. And then you can take this, and you'll notice I can't attach it to the bottom of my forever loop. That's because the forever block doesn't allow anything to connect below it, because this piece of code will run forever. It never stops. However, I can take my forever block and put it below a repeat block and then attach it like so. And if I wanted to, I can take other C blocks like my if block and put them inside there. I can actually nest if blocks inside of if blocks, which we will do at some point in time. That can be good for making a lot of different types of decisions in your programs. So that gives you an idea of how you can nest and place all these different C blocks and stack blocks within themselves. Next, connecting Boolean blocks. Boolean blocks are used to make logical decisions based upon true or false conditions within the program. In other words, in human terms, you're just looking to see if something's true, that it's there, or it's been pressed, or it has this particular value or behavior in it. And you're just seeing if it's true, then do something. Then you're also saying if it's false, then do nothing or go do something else. There's tons of different possibilities with Boolean blocks, and that's where you start making your games and animations very interactive and fun. Boolean variables, if you program in Java or in C# and some other languages, you actually would declare a variable to be Boolean and then set it to true or false. Inside Scratch, we can do the same thing. However, I like to use a 1 for true and a 0 for false. That just makes it a little bit easier for me, instead of having to worry about typing in the word true, then typing in the word false. If I have a space or I misspell it because I'm not paying attention, there's just all sorts of nuances that can happen if you misspell true or false. So I just use a 1 or a 0. Okay, so down here are some examples of our different types of Boolean blocks being connected. And you'll notice that in this example right here, we have a C block, which is the if-then block, and it has a little hexagon shape right there in the middle of it. And we're connecting this hexagon less than block inside of it. And you can see the end results right there. And over here in these examples, we're actually taking 3 or hexagon blocks and connecting them to each other to make a long logical Boolean block that checks 1, 2, 3, 4 conditions to see if any of those are true. Now, let's not worry about the details of what would go inside there. Let's be more focused on the fact that I can take all these green blocks and combine them together. And down here in this example, this one just gives you a different perspective of different blocks from different categories. I have a couple of these key pressed blocks here, and then I'm putting them inside this green hexagon Boolean condition block here for and then I put them inside this if-then C block like so. And you can see the end results once we go through the process of putting them together. It ends up looking like that. If we pulled up Scratch, and I'll make this part small. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of all that. And oh, you know what? Let's use this one when the sprite is clicked. Let's go ahead and we're going to say we have a forever block, and we're going to put in an if C block with my little hexagon shape there. Then I'm going to give it a sensing block. I'm going to go ahead and get 2 of these. I'm going to drag them over here, and I'm going to have 1 for the left arrow, 1 for the right arrow, and then I'm going to get an OR hexagon block, and I'm going to drag them inside like so. Then I'm going to grab the middle of the OR section here and then drag it and place it inside of that little hexagon. You can see how it lights up with the white line around it. That means it will connect. Let me show you something that could happen though. Say I got this all connected and it's ready to go. I'm pretty happy, and then I click and drag it. Uh-oh, see what happened? I clicked on the blue area, so it disconnected that block from that section. Instead, you have to grab the lowest level block that's been connected and then click and drag and move that up. And then there you have it. We can put something inside here like move 10 steps. So whenever I double click on the sprite, the code is activated, and you can see the little yellow line around the code. That tells you that it's actually, doing something. It's actually working. It's kind of a glow effect. So when I press the left or right arrow, the cat will move 10 steps. Let me show you something else that can happen with these blocks. Let's say we have these OR blocks, and I'm going to grab the OR again, the and the not. So I can take these blocks and stack them inside of each other like so. And what can happen though is it's kind of hard to tell where the most bottom block is to click and drag. Now since I put it together, I know it's right down here, so I can click and drag and move that around. However, if I grab the not section, it'll pull out that block plus the block that's inside of it. And then I come over here and grab and move that, and it will only grab the and section. So it can get a little bit tricky on how we put these together. And again, this code, don't worry about what I'm trying to do with it. I'm just trying to demonstrate how to click and drag and move this. And again, we can put it right there inside of that hexagon if stack block. Now you probably noticed something when I was moving it up. When I moved it over the data entry area of the move, it lights up, and theoretically it would let me add this logical condition inside the move steps. We're not going to worry about that right now. That's a little bit of advance on what it's trying to accomplish. Let's not worry about that. Instead, let's just focus on the fact that we can put the hexagon block right there inside the if then C block. This section is breaking from the whole block connecting to each other mentality. Instead, we're going to look at the input sections for some stack blocks. Input is whenever you enter in information into the computer or to your code. And there's two different types of input for these stack blocks. The first one is string input. This is where you enter in characters to spell out words. That's kind of the most common use. However, you can also put in numbers as string input. However, what you need to know is if you enter numbers in for the string input, you cannot use those for a calculation. Let's see. Whenever you look for a string input, and I've zoomed in here on this block, it will be a rectangle shape that allows you to enter in string values. And then the next type is data input. And data input is where you can enter in positive or negative integers. And you can also enter in real numbers that are also going to be positive or negative. And the data input section will be a kind of a circle, ellipse type shape. And that will allow you to enter in data values. Let's see what else. You can also put in variables inside each one of these, and we'll look at those here in a second. So I got my program here. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that, and let's get a look block right here. And we have say hello for 2 seconds. In this area is where I can type in information. I'm going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then for 2 seconds, I'm going to make that 0.5. So it's half a second. It'll only do it when I double click on the cat here. So I double click on the cat and it announces the numbers. Let me make that a little bit larger. And you can see the numbers, how they appear. And that's because I entered in the string values and then the data values for those two. Next we have reporter blocks, and reporter blocks are the ellipse shaped blocks. These are, I like to consider them variables because they hold information, which, I mean, that's pretty much what they are. They're just variables that hold data that you need for your program. The reporter blocks, they're going to be found in every type of programming category. Well, almost every programming category. And in the example down below, we have it in, shows you the say block using the random reporter blocks being inserted into its string input section, and also the same reporter block being inserted into the data input section. And what this does is it's going to cause the say block to actually say one of these numbers, and then it's going to say it for a certain amount of time. If we put this inside Scratch over here, we actually got the block up, so we get our operators, pick random. I'm going to put it inside the say string input area, then grab another one. I'm going to make this small. then put it right there for the data input. And then when we double click on the sprite to make that happen, let's make that larger so you can see the results. The random number it selected was 8, and then over here for this random number, I don't know what that value is because it doesn't output it. However, you can assume that it's going to be from 1 to 10. In this example, I wanted to show you that you can take the reporter blocks and use multiple reporter blocks with different types of blocks within the same block of code that you program. In this example, we're using the repeat until C block. It's going to be combined with this Boolean hex block, and then we have this blue reporter block from the sensing category. And then down here we have a kind of a dark blue stack block for sending the sprite to these XY coordinates. And then down below we have the X and Y position reporter blocks. And then you can see through the different steps how we combine them all together and create this little block of code like so. If we pull up Scratch, let me show you where I got all these blocks from. If I went over to sensing, right here is the answer. And this sensing reporter block stores the answer that you ask the user. Whenever you use this block, says what is your name. Whenever they enter in information, it gets stored inside this reporter block right here. And if you look through the sensing category, you'll notice there are some other reporter blocks down here that have different pieces of information. The motion, when we use these blocks in this code over here, I use the X and Y position reporter blocks. They're located down below, and these store the X and Y coordinates for this sprite only. They only store the information, and the same goes for the direction reporter block, like so. These are local variables to this sprite only. No other sprite that you put in the program can manipulate these values directly. You would have to use some sort of algorithm in your code in order for you to be able to use another sprite that can change these values. Finally, we're going to wrap up this section 5.1 with looking at the drop-down list for your different types of blocks. Not every block has a drop-down list, but some of them do. And you can tell if it has a drop-down list when there's this little black arrow right there. Okay, so any block that has that little black arrow on it, that tells you it has a drop-down list. And some of these drop-down lists can be very large. Let's pull open Scratch here. Let's make it full screen, and I'm just going to drag this off like so. I'm going to pull up this when space key is pressed. When I click on this drop-down arrow, you'll notice that it gives me a list of all the different keys on the keyboard. And then when I get down to this little white arrow at the bottom, it scrolls automatically through the rest of the keys. And then the white arrow appears up here, which I just hold my mouse over it, and it automatically scrolls through the values. So you can go through and access any of these keys that you want to be able to have the user pressed whenever they run this code. And over here is another broadcast block, and you'll notice on this one, when we click the little black arrow, instead of giving me an entire list, it only gives me one item, which that's all I have right now. Then it gives me an option to create a brand new message. And we'll get into the broadcast blocks in the section 5.2. So go through all the different block categories, see if you can find more reporter blocks, try to mix and match blocks and put them inside the program, experiment, see what happens. You might get some cool results, you might not get anything to happen. That's okay. The main thing is just go through and see what you can combine with each other, and look for blocks that have different drop-down lists like this one, and see if you can go through and manipulate those. Alright, so thanks for watching our video, and we'll see you in section 5.2.